Is the Cinch Premiership title race over? Mathematically, the answer to that is no, but every other single answer to that question is 100% yes. Welcome back, guys, here to Fog Football. Just a quick update here on the Cinch Premiership title race and, of course, the post-split fixtures that were supposed to be announced today, but never got announced for whatever reason. So let's talk about the title race. Look, we made that match review the other day where Aberdeen beat Rangers by 2-0. Now, some Celtic fans with their green-tinted specs and their individual single brain cell have came to the conclusion that I felt Rangers could still win the league and that I felt Rangers were in a title fight. Of course, I did not feel that way. At the start of the season, I predicted Celtic to win the league and I said they would do it by 15 points. And I could be right. They've almost got 15 points. Hell, it could be even more than 15 points. However, the point I was trying to make is Michael Beale and Michael Beale supporters have talked about this 9-point gap. They've kept bragging on about 9 points. They've said that Michael Beale inherited this 9-point gap and that it's not his fault. And that, you know what, that's fair enough. I don't think anybody expected Michael Beale to come in and overturn that 9-point gap. So if the gap ended at 9 points, then that is fine. People saying he can't do nothing about the gap, okay, I believe them. Fair enough. But I was just pointing out the fact that since then, they've had multiple Old Firm games against Celtic, and Celtic have dropped points. So, let's say for argument's sake, had Rangers beat Celtic at Celtic Park and had Rangers beat Aberdeen after Celtic dropped points against Motherwell, the gap could have been down to 4 points. So all I was suggesting is the fact that these Rangers fans that talk about the 9-point gap, well, Michael Beale had a chance. Michael Beale has had an opportunity since coming in to do something about the 9-point gap, but he hasn't got that 9-point gap down. In fact, the gap has grown. So if anything, I wasn't suggesting that Rangers could win the league. I wasn't saying that they should be winning the league or they're in a title fight. I was simply saying that Michael Beale has had opportunities to bring that 9-point gap down, despite what some fans would tell you. Some fans would tell you that, Michael Beale is innocent, there's nothing he can do. Well, that is wrong, because he's had a couple of Old Firm games. He hasn't won any of them. And, he didn't have to drop points to Aberdeen after seeing Celtic drop points to Motherwell. So Michael Beale could have brought it down. And if he did bring it down to 4 points, I was just suggesting that with 4 points, the gap, and with 5 points remaining, plus another Old Firm game, it was possible for Rangers to beat Celtic again and put the pressure on them. I'm not saying they should have done it. I'm not saying they were favourites. I personally think Celtic will win the last 2 derbies, but I'm saying Michael Beale has had the opportunity to close the gap, and he hasn't done it. So I don't see how that can get, misinterpreted into me thinking that Rangers should go on and win the league and that Rangers are in a title fight. And you're going to go, but look at the title of this video, man. I'm taking the piss. Obviously, the title's over. The title's been over since the start of the season. Look at the 2 squads. Seriously, it's night and day. And I know some Rangers fans can't see it. They think that their team's just as good as Celtic's team and that there's nothing between it. But honestly, if you're taking a combined 11 outside of form, I mean, come on, the team is literally probably made up of, if not 11 Celtic players, it's damn close to Celtic players. So come on. And then you've got Ange Postecoglou, who has been great. I said Ange Postecoglou, after 2 games in his first season, 2 league games, I said Celtic would 100% win the league. A lot of Celtic fans, after 6 games, were bitching and wanted Ange to be sacked. So don't come at me and pretend that I'm clueless and that I don't think that Celtic are a good team. I know Celtic are a good team. They're by far the best team in Scotland, and that is a fact. I was just saying that Michael Beale and Rangers have had a chance. Yes, it was unfair. Michael Beale comes in, he's 9 points behind. I get that. He's in a bad situation, but he's had an opportunity to decrease that 9-point gap, and he's not done it. So that's what I was saying. I wasn't saying that Rangers should win the league or that they could win the league or that Michael Beale, had he won that Old Firm game, would have been in the title fight. I was just saying that he's had an opportunity to bring that 9-point gap down and he's actually had the gap increase. So that's up to Michael Beale. That's up to Rangers. Is Michael Beale the right man for the job? I don't think you can judge him of, you know, this season. I think he deserves at least next season. However, if he gets beat in both cups by Celtic, and if the gap does increase, which it will, let's be honest, he's not going to get that gap back down to 9. I think he would be very lucky. If Michael Beale can keep the gap at 13 points, I think he will do well. I think that gap will grow. I think Celtic will win the next Old Firm game. Out of the two teams, I think Rangers are more likely to drop points against the other teams in the top 6 than Celtic are. I think we could see that gap. Celtic win the next Old Firm 16. I could see Rangers at least drawing annoyed. I think we could see that gap get to about 18 points. And then that would double. So that would be double the 9 points. So that would make Michael Beale just as bad then, I guess, as Gio Van Bronckhorst. But yeah, that was the point I was making. I don't think Rangers can win the league. I'll be predicting Celtic to win the league next year, the year after that. I'll probably predict Celtic to win the league for as long as Ange Postecoglou stays at the club. But let's talk about the post-split fixtures. So they were supposed to be announced today. They were not announced today, and apparently it's because they are in discussions with Sky Sports about what games are going to be televised. Now, obviously, they've got some sort of crazy deal where I think you can only have 5 games from each. Is it 5 or 4? See, I think it's 5 games from each stadium. So I think Easter Road only have 1 game left that they can show. And I think both Celtic and Rangers still have to go to Easter Road. So it's a whole mess up. I don't know why they can't just make an exception. We're into the split now. I mean, SPFL, Sky Sports are getting that. They've got such a cheap deal on these TV rights, man. They should be doing the right thing. I think come the last 2 days of the season, you know, the bottom 6 and the top 6, they could show all 6 games if they truly wanted to. Fuck this whole deal and this license. Sky Sports could show whatever game they wanted to, right? If they wanted to, they could, but they won't. You know, we'll probably just get, I believe, the final game, it'll probably just be Celtic since it's the last game of the season. I'd expect them to show that. Will we get anything in terms of down the bottom? We could be in a possible relegation battle. Will we see any games from the bottom 6? I mean, unlikely. I don't know, but that's apparently why the post-split fixtures have been delayed, because they're still in talks with Sky Sports. So hopefully the talks are going well, and that's why it's been delayed. Hopefully the SPFL are trying to get more games televised and shown in the final part of the season, because there's so many important games coming up. Like I said, the league's done, of course, but you've got the European spots, you've got the battle for 3rd, you've got the battle for 5th, you've got the battle for relegation, and possibly, you know, the playoff relegation battle as well. So even though the league's done, there's still a lot of other positions that are important that are still being played for in the Cinch Premiership. So yeah, the more games, the better. I think there was a deal where, is it last season, we could have shown 60 games and they only showed 42 or some crazy number like that. It's like, what the hell? If we can show, why are we not showing the maximum amount of games that we can? It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the more games that get shown, the more exposure Scottish football will get. I just don't see why we wouldn't take advantage of the maximum amount of games that we're allowed to televise. But whatever, guys. Look, tomorrow, I'm sure the fixtures will come out. And yeah, we'll make a video on it. But for the last time, I did not say Rangers can win the league. I didn't say that if Rangers beat Celtic, they would go on and win the league. I'm saying that if they beat Celtic, then the gap would have been down. And then all of a sudden, you know, the title race is on, whether you want to believe it or not. If Rangers were going into this split with a 4-point gap, you couldn't turn around and say the league was over, especially with an Old Firm game to go. But they didn't do that, and that's Michael Beale's fault. So he has had an opportunity. You can sit and say it's not his fault, 9-point gap. Well, he's had multiple opportunities now to bring that gap down by beating Celtic, and he hasn't done it on either occasion. So that lies with him. You can't blame Gio for that. And yeah, guys, that is it. I will catch you in the next one. But until then, until next time, get your green tinted specs off, and peace.